Okay, so good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Deanna Sheedy, the Executive Director of Play, and we are very excited this morning to have Danielle Wurth joining us today. She's going to be talking about everything organizing, but this is more to benefit your life and your overall well-being. Everything we do at Play and everything Danielle does very much overlaps, and there's so many components of life that we sometimes need a little bit more support with, and a lot of times our lives may seem out of sorts, and it's really hard to get back into that focus and that moment and that present time of getting organized. And so the holidays are coming. There's a lot going on. I'm already feeling overwhelmed. I was like Christmas shopping already. There's just a lot. And there's a lot of expectations on all of us to provide. And so we need to take care of ourselves and our families and everyone, all the children that we work with. And so Danielle is here to walk us through how we can do that for ourselves. So I'm going to hand it over to Danielle for this morning's presentation. And thank you, Danielle.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to be covering so many different concepts, more mindful and change in mindset concepts. Often we think of organizing as, you can see the pretty little baskets and bins and boxes, and that is such a wonderful visual that helps us to find things, know where they go back. They have labels on them. But before we even get to the final stage of having and living a well-organized lifestyle, is just really understanding all the mindfulness that we do need and decision-making that needs to happen in order to even get to that phase. And there's a little bit trickierness with it than we realize, but that is what this teaching is going to be about, is for you to just better understand yourself, how to make better quality decisions and not get what you call kind of like paralysis analysis, where we get just like so frozen into making a decision and not being afraid to make a mistake. So first concept I wanted to talk about is learning how to become what's called a master gatekeeper. And what that is you're realizing you have the power, you hold the keys to your house, your home, your life, and you decide who is welcomed in through the door, whether it's front door, garage door. We think, gosh, how did all these things in my house just show up and multiply in the night? But we actually have brought these items in. So the minute we bring something in to our home, our purse, our car, our bags, we have now given ourselves a responsibility. And it's up to you. How much responsibility do you want, really? Because the minute it comes in, it has to be cared for, it has to be filed, it has to be shredded, it has to be polished or cleaned or recycled, or there's responsibilities with all of the items we bring in. And this goes beyond just sorting the junk mail. This is just every little type of item. So I usually give an example. I'm at the pharmacy. They, give me my prescription bottle. They're pumping out a bunch of coupons. They're giving me a bag. They're giving me a flyer about flu shots. And I have a choice at that point to decide, do I need to even take this home? Do I even need to put it in the shopping cart, literally? So often just being a master gatekeeper and realizing I don't need to bring all this into the house. I just need to bring my little pill bottle. Then that's where I'll just step aside. I'll put back marketing, or I'll say, thank you so much. Don't want to waste it. Pass on the coupons, put them on the side if I don't need it. And then just take my bottle, just keep it in my purse, and that's it. Because if I took it home, then I'd have 3-4 other decisions I'd have to make. And that kind of brings me to my next point, which is, do we do it now, or is it 1,000 laters? And so if I brought that item in, I'd be like, oh, I'll just deal with it later. I'll just deal with it later. Well, that's 4 other laters I just basically elected myself to take on. And then, you've got this item that's left out and this thing that didn't get put away. And let's just say it's in your bathroom and we're like, oh, I'll put the blow dryer away later, the hairbrush later, this later. And literally you're looking at 15 laters on the countertop, when in actuality, if you were to count, and I'm the organizing nerd who has counted this, and I think, okay, if I put the toothbrush back in the drawer, that's like what, 1 nanosecond. If I put the hairbrush back in the drawer, these are barely seconds, and we think they are so much bigger than they are. And it's often we're just rushing and we just didn't leave that buffer of time. But if there is really anything you could just make a decision on now that versus doing it later is huge. It just prevents the massive pileup to happen in our life and in our home. And then that's where we're just like, what just happened? So again, doing it now versus 1,000 laters is huge. Now, there's always that concept with organizing where people will say, oh, only touch it once. There are times that does work, sure, sorting the mail, making decision makings, quick things, but there are times you just need a little more time to think about something and you could put it aside and go for those quicker decisions to realize now. So hopefully that's another concept. So again, we talked about becoming a master gatekeeper, really understanding the power of what you're allowed to bring into your home and does it serve a purpose. Then do it now versus 1,000 laters. The next concept, which a lot of people do struggle with, I find I struggled with big time for many years, is perfectionism. We do see Instagram, we see, all the pretty finished settings and pantries and clear bins, and that is just fantastic. It's inspiring, it's beautiful. Often a lot of it, just because I've been in this industry 15 years, is professionally set and staged because it's just going to look better that way. Trust me, to get everything in rainbow perfect colored order, from chip bags to the drinks, those things are set professionally photographed. And it could work for a short period of time in regular life. But often, and that's why I always post like reality. This is my exact setup. This is a perfect client situation. It's not all going to be perfect. So again, when you are looking at things, realize a lot of that is set up for kind of that fantasy and inspo of things, and might be a bar that's not truly 100% realistic to even keep or maintain. But in order to kind of get over that, I realized progress feels amazing, and making progress feels just, it's like you're on a high, because it just, you see, well, I made progress, I made a difference, I made a decision. And I realized that versus getting something super duper perfect it felt so much better to actually be like, wow, I did this today. So just one quick example would be, let's say, I could professionally, label a drawer unit. Like I was working on these this last week, now that they're set. Or I could just temporarily label, this is just masking tape with a Sharpie. And this is what I did for honestly 1.5 years. I should have left some of my old ones on for you guys, but I didn't know how I wanted to use my drawer unit behind me. We were doing a remodel. My kids are switching schools, health issues, like life was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs crazy. And so I was like, you know what, this is good enough for me to just use the masking tape, plop it on there with a Sharpie, and just try out. I must have moved those stinking labels like over the course of the year at the remodel multiple times. I changed the themes, and normally the perfectionism me would have just been like, oh, I want it perfect. But I just recently printed it off with the Brother Label Maker, the final labels, because I just knew I needed to just have it be done, have the progress in the beginning, get things finalized. Then once the system's in place, I can do that final label. So think to yourself, what does feel better? These are both organized solutions. Just one is the prettier factor than this. And in the beginning, when you just want to start making some progress and having things labeled is huge. Labeling does the speaking for you. When you are not there, you don't need to explain where the chips are here, the canned goods are there, breakfast items in a corner, let's say with a pantry, things in bathroom drawers or on the tops of drawer units in kids drawers, for instance, for where things to go. So it's just so nice to have that label teach and show where things are to go. It's like a classroom story set up for you. So hopefully that concept is really helpful. I always say, don't make that bar just so high where you're always just getting hit on the head with it. Lower the bar so you can be really successful and just like soar over it. And then you'll gain more confidence skills too, and things will go so much faster. So the next concept as well is a lot of people get confused between being organized and efficient. And I think organized is great. You're having, like themes and styles together. But when you're efficient, that is, to me, that's the sweet spot, because we are so crammed on time. I feel it all the time. I've got kiddos that are 16 and 13, and I've got one driving. I'm in between running business and clients and running the house with what we have here. It's a lot of hats. And so for me, efficiency is just what is the quickest and best way to do something. So often we might, couple of examples for that would be, let's say coming home from grocery store and I've got, part of our system is when we come home, we really empty everything out. But let's say it's all the fruits and the vegetables, all of that's just getting washed. It's getting taken out of its original packaging and then put into how it would be used for the week. So let's say it's baby carrots, right? We eat a lot of those. Instead of keeping it in the original plastic thing, I know, thinking 3 steps ahead, somebody's going to want a carrot, right? They're just going to tear open the bag. It's going to be left open. Probably put a binder clip on it. In my house, we love binder clips. But, if I then need to make a snack for baby carrots as I'm heading out or use it for lunches, then it's like 3 more steps, to put it in the bags and then the bags ripped again, versus I could be so much more efficient where I take that bag of baby carrots. I have one kiddo just tear it open. He assembles 3 little snack bags and then that goes in the drawer. So, you could have, again, this loose bag just clipped together, or you could have it be so much more efficient where it's just grab and go. And it's just cleaner. It's better. There's less mess. You're just setting up just more efficient living in general. Same thing with like a meal prep situation. I can take things, put it in a Tupperware bowl, but then that's not something I'm going to use to serve with later. So that's why I like to use more of a glass series. And on my website are all the products I'm mentioning. Like I have small little bowls from Crate and Barrel, and then I have a larger one with Pyrex. And the reason why I like that is I can see the items, I can heat with the items, I can serve in the items. So it just sort of cuts out another step. And it keeps it organized, but it's also so much more efficient too. I can see them equally. They can stack nicely. It's all the same shape, all the same size. So if, let's say in this situation, I was constantly needing to get to like a 3rd bin here, and let's say it was something taller and awkward, it could be organized, but if I'm constantly having it stack down and stack up, it's like I'm wasting more time versus something in a drawer unit would just be so much faster. So that's where, whatever you're doing, think about organized versus efficiency. And that will really just kind of cut things down for you much faster. Does anybody have questions on just some of those concepts before we get into some of the other ones? Everybody good?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
You were talking about like the glass bowls and different things like that. If people have like maybe a less like not a big budget for that kind of thing, you know, because it's like even going to Walmart and buying like big baskets to do your pantry or something can really add up fast.
Yes.
So have you found anything that maybe would work or ways to, you know, get that kind of supplies and stuff to be organized, but on at the lower end of
Yeah, definitely. The glass bowls that I mentioned, actually, they're only $1.99 each. So that, I think that's pretty, you know, conservative. But the other thing too is look at when you buy a product, for instance, look at what the container is that it comes in. So for instance, like I have like sauce jars, right? And they're actually like Mason brand sauce jars. Well, I know when I'm done with those, they have a nice black lid, and I used them literally just yesterday to pour extra paint into, and then I'll just put a label on it. I did just a temporary one. We're touching up paint in the house now. So I already paid for that sauce jar. I can reuse that very easily, you know, if you wanted to like prep salads in it, for instance. So that's one thing. Even at Costco, like nuts come in a nice container and they're pretty hardy and there's a black lid on it. I've soaked those lids off. You're smiling, so maybe you do the same. And those are easily repurposed. You could put a cute chalk label on them. That's helpful too. As far as bins and basket, I definitely agree with you. You can get up in price with those pretty quick. As there is, whether it's Container Store and even at, let's say Walmart, you want to look for good quality brands. Walmart, I've had not the best in consistency. So I'm branded with Container Store, but I feel like the product consistency there is, if we have time, there is a low rise bin that actually, if you go on even just my Instagram, you will see me using it in a variety of ways at clients, but there's a low rise white bin that is a few dollars, maybe $4.99 or $5. And it's very helpful and they're hardy and they last. I've yet to have a handle break on them. So hopefully that's helpful on like some product suggestions. The dollar store obviously is great, but everything they have tends to be so tapered at the bottom. So it does make it a little funkier versus something like square at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I was just going to say,
you're welcome.
my problem with getting stuff like that is I overestimate or underestimate the size of what I'm getting. And then I will purchase something in person and then I'll come home and be like, what am I going to use this for now? Because whatever I thought I was going to put in there, it doesn't really fit. So I don't want to like promote online shopping. But I mean, sometimes you can't see if it's online either, what it looks like or whatever. But I think like, what is I don't know what's better. What's a reasonable way to like, you know, like know, I don't know. Sometimes I was like going to organize my children's thing. I don't know. I always feel like I buy bins that like aren't, they're not exactly what I thought they would do to fit.
Yeah.
And that's where I struggle because now I have like this picture folder with pictures that's overflowing out because it wasn't actually big enough.
Right.
So,
it's really common. I do have to say product selection is absolutely the trickiest thing to figure out. And I mean, we've been doing this 15 years, we're professionals, right? But we're going to get stumped. We've got to measure. The big thing is, and we could skip to this, is following what I call the 4 A's. And that is first, you're going to always assess your space and its function. So let's say you were talking, is it Eva or Ava? Eva. Okay, Eva. So you're going to look at your pantry. The best thing to do is to take a picture of your space on your phone, simple, easy. And you're like, why do I need a picture? I'm standing in it. This is so silly. You need the picture because then you're going to print that picture off and you're going to have it in your hand as a visual guide to then also take with you. And it's just much bigger. The other reason is that it puts yourself in kind of a third party view and you're looking at it not being in the space. The experience psychologically, I'm telling you, is completely different. You are able to see the space with just a whole different lens. And I did that by accident once years back. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best way to do it. So we do that with clients quite often too, because being in the space is just too overwhelming. You can go to another room and then be like, okay, what would I do here? That's where you can see the space and realize, wait, I've got a dead spot here. This shelf is funky here. I can adjust this. And then the next thing you'll want to do is the next day is attack. You're going to attack and dissect. What am I keeping? What am I tossing? What do we need? So with your daughter's art, going through those, I have my kiddos right behind me this is called like there's one over there, upright magazine tote. And so in there, I have a cardboard version in my son's rooms when they're older now, but in the beginning, whenever they'd come home with, okay, that book report or that art piece, more of the smaller things, we'd go through and decide, okay, what are your absolute favorites? And I always requested them to give me 3 reasons why it was a favorite. I found if they didn't hit the 3 mark, that it wasn't a favorite. It would just help them in the decision making of them to understand why something's a favorite. And I think that's so important for just general processing, brain development, cognitive skills, and kids need to learn that. So the better they know themselves, well, I love this because I spent so much time on it. Last time I did it, I didn't do as well on this project or math solution. I did so much better on this quiz. So I want to keep this one versus this one. And that is so important for them. That helps them learn. Today, they're deciding which of their math quizzes they want to keep. But tomorrow, trust me, it's going to be mail, paperwork, and other things. It's really amazing cognitive skills. These are life skills. These are organizing skills. And yes, you get all the pretty factor at the end, but to get there, you need to kind of have those skills along the way. So then after you're attacking, dissecting, then you are going to assign the system. Probably the number one most common human mistake, so not here to shame anybody, is that we go straight to the store to buy a bunch of organizing things. And we didn't do step 1 or 2. And it's just human nature. We want a solution. We want to get it fixed. But I wrote about this in my book, Ignite the Organizer in You. And I gave it like a first base, second base, third base. And people are wondering, why didn't I do a home run? And you're like, well, you missed first base. You didn't touch second base. So yeah, you're not going to get a home run. And it seems logical, right? So it's so important to do 1 and 2. And then once you have it pared down, like Deanna, you were saying, then oh, I've got so much of this height, so much of this width, and so forth. And then you know what to do in finding the right solution. So back to the kids solution, just to keep that little theory going here. One thing that helped me a ton, and again, this for me was 50% working with my kids on working with them on using decision-making and just exercising their mind on how to make quality decisions, was that we just created a little like art binder book. It was super simple. All this is a simple binder with protective sleeves and pocket folders. And so I'll show you what they look like here. Here's a typical pocket folder. I love these. And then I always put, I use these for business too. Like here's my for play right now. Here we go. And then I like to adhere a little business card holder thing on it, so I can just kind of reuse that. But I use these for so many things. We'll talk about it more with the paperwork section, but back to the kids stuff. So once the kids would decide what they want to keep, we had our little upright tote that seemed about the right width of a binder. And then we kind of sort through once that got crazy. And towards maybe like mid-year, we'd go through what are your favorites, and then they'd put them in a protective sleeve, just like you would if you're doing like a book report. And then let's say they're getting, cards for their birthday. What do you do with those? Some were really fun and they've got music. They're from grandma, whatever. So that would be great. That goes in a pocket sleeve, or might be something a little hardier, like a book. I know my son's got little books. That were like a memory book from the class at the end of the year. So that's where these pocket folders are excellent. In the front here, this was when my son did his little graduation. So that was the actual like brochure from the graduation for 8th grade. And the other things we'll put in the book is we've got like the class picture. This I just put nothing fancy. I didn't frame anything. You could see I just put it against some colored paper, and that actually just hung in their room with some other favorite art things on just like a cable cord, and it just became art, and it became their personal art, their keepsakes and memory, but also was decorative in their room. I'll keep, let's think what else. Here's like easy merit scores, like some just favorite for keeps. Maybe it was, yeah, here was another little school project. So really simple. Yeah, here's birthday cards, right? It's just such a great, easy keepsake. And then they have that. And we have one, this was a combo of 5th and 6th grade year. If you're more of a don't want to keep the original of something, then of course you can go digital, take your whatever number of pictures you want and put it into a Shutterfly book. There is archive. That is a service. You're about a $100 to $200 investment on archive where you ship it out and then they convert it digitally into a book for you too. So, but I always think, we have to remember, you guys, like, I mean, I'm almost 50 and I have maybe like this much of my entire childhood and I'm not like a traumatized, damaged individual. You know what I mean? So I think we have to remember that. If I were to give one last tip with kids' art, do not rob your children of the experience of making these decisions and doing something with them, because so many people are like, I just toss my kids' art when they're not looking. And I highly recommend do not do that. Besides just damaging your relationship and trust with the kiddo, it will cause them to hold on to items more than they need to. And there's going to be that trust factor. And you're just robbing them of making decisions. So you really, to me, this is so much about learning how to make decisions, because they'll just start doing sorting and purging as they get older too. So, so anybody have questions on that? I know I did like a big cycle using art, but I hope that was kind of helpful.
What was the 4th A?
Oh yes, thank you. So after the 3rd was assign the system, and the 4th A is going to be accountable. And that's where people say, I get organized, but it doesn't stay that way. Well, there could be a couple of reasons. One, it wasn't the right system. That could be the case. Like, let's say I bought a small little tote thinking, basket in the pantry and it's for breakfast. But then I didn't think, oh, when we go to Costco, we come back with like 3 huge things of oatmeal that we use all the time, or extra chips. Where does that go? And so sometimes the system can go not the right one, because I wasn't thinking ahead with that. So what you want to do as far as being accountable is take the time to put it in its proper place. You have what you need, and the rest can go in like a back stock up top, let's say. And accountability goes hand in hand with having it properly labeled so that everybody knows, oh yeah, oatmeal goes in the breakfast bin. That makes sense. And again, that system's just working for you. The other reason that systems don't stay in place is because we think it's going to take too long for us to just put it in its right place. And again, we're going to like put it off for doing it later. And it takes, again, like a nanosecond to just put it where it needs to go, or recycle this where it needs to go, and versus delaying that decision. I think the big thing in setting up a home and living a real healthy, organized lifestyle is realizing it's not just us in one role. Everyone has a role in running the house. And that can start literally at age 2 all the way up into making the right decisions and showing them where things need to go. It does not take that much. It takes a little bit longer to show and then maintain and then keep them accountable. And that's how your systems are in just maintenance mode. And once you're in maintenance mode, that is the sweet spot. That is like, oh, heaven, aura, it's really just so great. So I just love it, Any other questions on that before we get into like paperwork or laundry? I want to see where we're at. We're doing good on time. You guys are good.
I have another question again, because
yeah,
so
I love it. Bring on the questions.
I'm a very organized person naturally. So, and I set up the house to try to be, I mean, I need to learn to more like assess and attack and stuff, but I naturally have things go into place.
Okay,
But
great.
how have you navigated with like your kids and your family when they're not necessarily wired the same way? And like, for instance, I'm trying to teach my 11-year-old, daughter, she has a closet. I'll organize it. We moved into a new house a year ago, perfectly organized for drawers. Everywhere has a place for things.
Okay.
But when she puts away her own laundry, she just throws it in there or tries something on and throws it in her closet. And I go in there and I simply am frustrated. Like, have you had to deal with that? How did you navigate raising these kids to learn to put things away where they go?
Right. Well, the big thing is when you did the closet system, was she vested in the process as well? Like, did she put her own sweat equity in it, or was it 90% you, 10% her? It's okay to be honest.
Yeah, no, I would say it was probably 80-20. I have her in there with me, but kind of saying, no, we need to do it here, So yeah, she probably didn't have as much sweat equity in it as I did.
Right. Yeah. And I get it. You have probably more natural interest in it. And she's like, well, I'm not as interested. She might be interested in something else, possibly. Yeah. And I completely get that. Is she distractible? Does she get distracted really easily? Like, oh, I'll do this. And then she's suddenly doing that. And then she's doing this.
Not necessarily. I don't know. It's like she doesn't want to it's like she doesn't want to take the time. Like she's she gets home from school and she, will have homework and then she has cheer. And so when I ask her to put her clothes away, it's like I go down there, and it's done, but it's just shoved in the drawer, not neat, not
right. Exactly. I think it is frustrating. I mean, she is 11 now. I mean, she's developed a lot. I totally get it. You've got the systems. I think it depends like how hard of a line you want to draw. I mean, if you're like, those clothes are clean, is she going to wear them again? But now they're wrinkled. As far as saying, listen, this is the proper way, to take care of it. I've learned with my kids as they got older, instead of like being on them on certain things, I finally had to just draw that hard line and say, listen, I know you want to play games right now, Rocket League, whatever, but before dinner, this whole space has to be done right. It's a responsibility. You have to take care of these items and respect it. And then now let's say he's shoving something, he's shoving the underwear in the sock drawer. I mean, at some point I'm going to be like, okay, if that's your standard and that's where you want to be, but it's not the proper place it needs to be. But once I put a label on it and it's marked socks, undies, and this, then he's like, this is so much better. I love this so much better. So there's always a carrot for every kiddo. I knew each child, I'll like negotiate with them and motivate them in different ways. And so for one, he just kept putting a shoe here and another shoe there. And I'm like, and he's a more distractible kid. And so I said, you know what, if you can't take care of these, you're going to wear your church shoes to school tomorrow. And I mean, he just like flipped out. And because he was like, you've got to be kidding. And I'm like, I don't know what else to do. These are all your choices at this point. So I had to decide which hard lines to draw at that point. But if she's ready to go out or she's coming back from cheer, or maybe before she's allowed to go to cheer, or the next event, or before she can go on social or whatever, then you could be like, hey, I'm going to just need your phone until this gets ready. And if I'll say, hey, listen, you're the one setting yourself up for this. You're electing to do this, so that's where my son's like, oh yeah, that's right. I did do this to myself and I did it a nice way, but you're just like, hello. So it is a process and it is, I have one that is like, I'm literally going to show you guys his room. He just left on a school retreat. It is like, he's like my engineering, my other one's just a little bit messier, but yeah. So, okay. What else? Let's talk about, okay. I'm going to give you guys choices too. We've got the concepts was paperwork and then laundry. So what do you guys want me to cover first? I could do both, obviously. Okay. So paperwork, I don't know about you, but that's one that I have had a significant struggle with. I think just running family business, there's just so much that's always coming in and out. So I had to really think back to the gatekeeper concept. What do I need to print off? What do I really need as reference? And so it's just sort of understanding yourself and trusting yourself really what's best. And so there are certain things that I do need to print off. Like, let's say, for instance, I'm doing, when I first met with Deanna, I'm going to start my little pocket folder. I know it's going to be ongoing project. I put in, the card here. I have things I wanted to talk to her about at the meeting. I have my notes from that day. And then as we progress, then we have outline. So for me, there's just some paper that is going to happen to work with. So having something handy like this is just excellent. And then I can just take it with me and it keeps it contained. Another option is definitely clipboards. I love clipboards. I just sort of bought them in bulk because I use them for marketing too. But that's helpful when there's things I have to go over with a particular family member, like my son going on the retreat. We had forms to review. So I'll just tell him, grab a clipboard, just put everything we need to go over together on that. And then mommy will go over it with you. I make them do the first step. It's like, I could keep doing these first steps, but at some point you're getting old enough, they could even start grabbing that in kindergarten age. So, and realizing that all of these things go together to keep papers organized. As far as reducing volume coming in, we know the mail, there's things that are going to be sent to us just naturally because of a postal code. But then as far as your names being sold from like magazine A to its sister companies, on the back of magazines, there's a blue code and a yellow code, and that's usually a source code and a customer thing. And literally, I'll just tear some of those off that I didn't sign up for and staple them together. I'll be in the pickup line and I'll just make the calls and be like 1-800, boom, boom, boom. They've been really sneaky not putting 1-800s on it. I've been noticing on some of these. So I'll just have to look it up to get my name taken off. But reducing the paper volume coming in is so huge. Once I'm done with something and I no longer, let's say it's like invoicing, for instance, or it's a receipt with something that I'm already finished with, I need to submit it. I really love using the Adobe Scan app. It's just Adobe as an Adobe brand, like Acrobat and all that. And their scanning app is free. It turns it into a PDF. You could rotate it, adjust the lighting. So when I'm done with using, let's say I have a statement that comes in and I like to just mark, what all the little tax codes are. And then my husband enters that in for our QuickBooks. Then at the end, I can take that batch of what my notes were and I can just scan it in and I just know that was all the finance snapshot for the month. And then I can just shred everything. So I do a little more of a hybrid approach where I use the paper for the note taking and accounting, and then we'll scan it in so that it is paperless. I think paperwork is a matter of deciding what you really, really have to keep and not keep. So one thing that's helped me a ton in just juggling different hats is, and these I did get at Container Store, there's drawer units. Can you see that they're clear? And this is like one unit you buy. And, it has its pullouts. I eventually want to put like some pretty paper in the front so I don't see all the colors. But for me, I needed one's personal. So that was just like ongoing receipt things that I need to keep and hold on to unless I need to return something. Then I had family. Fortunately, our family's gone through a lot of medical, so I have everything medical. So once I send something out and I'm waiting for that credit to show up, or I'm waiting for the department to give me a discount I requested, let's say, then this is kind of more what I call like the waiting for folder. So I've done the task and now I'm waiting for it to show up. And then once I'm done, let's say with that medical, and I see, okay, the balance now shows 0, I'm done with it. Then I'll scan that using the app, and then I can just shred whatever. And it's set. I have it to the computer up just showing what those statements were. But these have been really helpful. So, and so forth. And then things I'm working on, I keep business on one side and I keep personal on the other side of the desk. I think it's, for me, just keeping it separate has been really helpful as well with if there is paperwork that is coming in. A lot of it is just learning how to make good, quick decisions. And I think sometimes we just don't know, and that's when we get stuck. So does anybody have questions on paperwork? That's such a massive topic. So if there's something specific you want an answer on, I'm definitely happy to share. Anybody have questions on that, or we're good? Okay. All right. Awesome. And then laundry. I know we love doing laundry. Laundry is just so fabulous, right? I want to get in and out of that room as quick as possible. So when my little one was, my eldest, who's 16 now, which is crazy, there was a lot of laundry, like little baby socks, and it was just too much. And I said, there's got to be a way to make this so much more efficient. So on my website, you will see, you can search Whitmore, WHITMOR, and laundry mesh bags. And in there, I decided to use these laundry mesh bags, and I would clip it in his hamper, and then all his little baby socks went in there. And then as he got older, his underwear and his socks would go in his mesh sack. And then you could pick them with the colors. You can have with like a colored zipper if you want, or you can just put a ribbon through the, a colored ribbon. We did one with one print and another kid had another print. And then that mesh sack gets filled about 60% of the way. And then we would zip it up, and then the whole thing would go in the washing machine and then the dryer, and then it would go in their laundry basket that has their name on it. So it'd be their clean laundry basket. The efficiency of this mesh sack system is like mind-blowing. It's been honestly amazing. So again, it's just socks and undies go into their sack, and then it goes washer, dryer. So you're not touching every little thing or having to sort. Even if you do the laundry separate, why would you grab, like 99 socks when you can just grab, right, one sack? And this does not cost a lot. It's maybe a $5 solution. It's been really an amazing investment. And I would recommend having at least 2 or 3 per family member. We have more because we do sports too. And those extras stay at the bottom. So when they go to put laundry away, I do the first half of laundry and they do the second half, and they go to put it away. They just need to unzip their sack, shake it out, and then they can do their matchups and put it back. The other way I use it, here's the baskets that we like to use. This is also made by Whitmore. I've had this thing, 8 years. It's got a wire frame to it. They do run around $19, so a little more of an investment. But hey, holidays are coming, right? And in the beginning, you've got to use. With clients, in the beginning, if the budget wasn't there, we literally did banker boxes. It's just clean clothes, not a big deal. And then some folks have done even like diaper boxes too. It's just using a product to corral something bigger. That's pretty much what a basket is. But I like this because it's solid. It doesn't have the holes on it. See the little handles. So it's easy for my kids younger. And I just hung one of our tags with their name on it. So this is just a clean laundry basket. It's also a catch-all. So if I'm like, hey, take your bouncy ball thing and put it back in your room. But here's my son's green sack. He's the green guy. This is all my 16-year-old's undies here, which he's so nice. He allows me to always show things on webinars. He is in club soccer. So this is one of the bigger sacks. It looks huge on the screen, but it's really just like 18 by 11. This is an entire jersey set: socks, top, bottom, jerseys, and the compression shorts. So we're not trying to match things up. It's an entire set: washer, dryer, and I just put it in. So again, remember we talked about efficiency. It's everything. And so he's like, where's my red jersey set? Boom, it's right there. So my kids know if there is a stain that they got on their clothes. We use Draft. I love Draft for stain removal. It pretty much takes everything out. It's a newborn detergent that's really amazing with enzyme breakdown. And so they just know, hey, you got to put a little stain remover on it, soak it in the bowl in the sink, like now that they're older, you know, even when they're younger though, I mean, starting as early as you can is huge. But yeah, laundry is an entire cycle. It's like, it has its little stages along the way. So anybody have questions on just some of those tips and hacks to kind of
I was just going to say that for the
Ask her.
laundry, like we spend more time trying to pair socks together, or, you know, sock
Yeah.
monster that we lose and stuff like that. And we're like, well,
Yeah.
I can't find this pair. So here's the other one. I really don't know where they go. But this
Right.
would avoid all of that happening if they had a
Oh,
place
totally.
to put them in.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time, if they had like a special place to put stuff in, maybe more willing to do that. And like, that's great
Right.
with the uniforms and stuff like that, because the other day I was like, where is Madeline's soccer shirt? It's somewhere here, or the other soccer sock or stuff like that. So
Right.
it's really genius to be able to put them together. And it is, yeah, it seems like a lot of effort, but it's way more effort and stress on the other end when you can't find it. So
well, and
just being consistent.
Exactly. And honestly, our kids know how to operate iPads, work on computers, play games. They are fully capable of putting socks and undies. And I'm not just talking you and your kids. Trust me, I've been down this road to put it in a sack. So my kids, they thought the sack idea was super fun. And most client kids are like, oh, I have my own. And they liked that it wasn't messing with brothers or sisters kind of thing. So usually the embrace factor is great and it makes it easy. The other thought is it puts ownership on the child to be like, these are your items. You can take care of them. We're talking at like preschool age, they can put the sets. One thing you mentioned, misfits, Deanna, is there's no reason to ever put misfit socks in a drawer. There should only be sets in that drawer. So if I do find some misfits, it's going to meet its friend. I just throw it in the next dirty sack. It will meet its friend at some point. If it does not meet its friend at some point, then I'll just rubber band some of the misfits and I'll be like, you guys, where did it go? If there's a hole in one sock, we throw out the set, you know, unless we're using it for like shoe polishing or something. But yeah, so there's no reason we should exhaust ourselves and make things so much harder. Our kids are so capable of doing so much. I think us as parents have just gotten more tired to like enforce it. But if we can spend more time to teach it, that will reverse, you know, and that's where we're at. And that's just going to make everyone collectively work better together. And then they can help me, I help them, you know, we're all in it. So, okay, awesome. What else? Yes. And that's another teaching point. I'm looking at my notes here is it's really empowering your child, and we're not like enabling them. Oh, I'll do this for you. Now, today, I had one son forgot to take out the trash. Today was his trash day. Trust me, he is not getting a get out of jail free card. When he comes home, mommy took it out for him. Okay, fine. When you come home, you're doing me a nice little favor. It's not meant to be like tit for tat, but it's meant to be like, you have a responsibility. I have a responsibility. Like, it's not just, okay, so I will have him do something for me because he realizes he laxed on it. He didn't leave enough time to get ready. So, hey, that's real life. It's going to happen. So, okay, great. Any other questions before we get into like apps and tips? We're good. Everybody's good. Okay, awesome. What else? Okay, one of my other favorite, it's not really an app as much as like a program for getting off if your email, you've just been put on like email lists that have just gone awry here, is called unrollme.com. Does anybody use that or on that? Nobody? Oh, do you like it?
I did when I first, but I find like things still come through. And so I don't know, I feel like I have to go back in and maintain it. So I'm honestly glad you said that because it's been a while since I've like updated things on there. I do think that's the only thing is like, you kind of have to keep up with it sometimes because the new Christmas season, I'm going to get a whole new set of
badge. Right.
have you
Yeah.
say?
So as far as like email, and I mean, again, that's going back to being a good gatekeeper. I mean, I barely even give my email to the doctor's office unless I have to. I'm like, do you really need it? I mean, but I protect that because it's going to take time and energy to me to go through. I don't want the marketing if I don't need it. And so just being that gatekeeper is huge. And if you don't have to give out your email, it's your private email. I just bought something over at the patio store and they wanted my email. And I said, is that required? Aren't you just going to probably print me my receipt? And they said, no, you don't have to give it. And I said, okay, good. I prefer just keep it private because that patio store, who even knows what list? They're a very nice store, and I don't know what other cushion companies who even knows where that could go. So I'm really, really protective of it. So what unrollme.com is basically it when you enter in your email address, it's literally going to spend like 2 to 3 minutes. And think of it as like a vacuum, and it's just going to suck up every possible email that you are on a list for, subscriptions, everything. And then it's going to alphabetize it for you. And then you, in batches, literally could hit the unsubscribe button in seconds and just go like A through Z. Be like, I never signed up for, I mean, it's crazy the stuff that you get signed up for that you didn't give authority to. So you can just be like, unsubscribe, and it just goes all the way down. So, I mean, you could get off 50, so many things, and it feels really great. Now, the other part of the roll me part is, let's say you wanted to get certain promotions or newsletters of certain vendors, but you want it all on one day. That's where you can roll it up and it goes out on like a Saturday when you feel you can go out and you're not interrupted during the work week. So that's where the roll part comes into play. It has been just really fantastic. If your email has gotten just, you could do that as far as phase one. The other option you could do is you just have like a basic account, and that's where all promotional stuff, like if you have to sign up for something, and people use like their Yahoo account or whatnot for that, but then they use their Gmail for something more personal. And so you could separate it out that way if that is helpful to you. And decide. But remember, it's your private email, and realizing you have the power to decide what comes in and what doesn't. So notifications too. Do you need notifications for everything on Facebook, Instagram coming through? It's just more noise, more coming in, more distraction. So I know for like my phone, the only notification I get that's silent is just comes across, but it's not like dinging, because that can be, also just so distracting as you're trying to work. Trying to think some other apps that are a favorite. Let me look here real quick. For efficiency, I end up using more of my day planner, but Todoist, if you're more of like a list person, let me see if I can show you guys. It is this guy right here. It's red and it has the V's on it. And I worked with this software engineer guy, and he's the one that recommended it to me. And that's where you can put all your tasks on lists, and you can color code it. And so you could be like calls on one thing, errands on something else, tasks for something else, personal tasks, business tasks, family tasks. And for me, I was driving a lot, and always checking my phone became more distracting to use the app. So that's why that I realized did not work for me, even though the app was fantastic. I think just being in the car and the distraction with the phone. So I went back to using more of my just traditional little executive planner. So any other questions you guys want? I'm going to look at.
I have one more if we have time for it. I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but our kitchen, like we walk in the garage and our kitchen is right there. So everybody comes in and just kind of like dumps all their stuff on on the island and the countertop.
Right.
And have you had to deal with that? And do you have any like tips of how to manage that? Because I feel like I'm constantly just like moving cups, moving keys, moving devices.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get all over my my counter.
Yeah, and the kitchen counter is for food prep. I mean, it's basically it. Okay, so one, we have to figure out an alternate location for the items. So when you're saying cups, is it like they're cups from school?
Cups from school when they come home, like their water bottles that I have to like fill up for the next day or wash. And then, yeah,
Okay.
just like their cups that they use for like breakfast. I don't like to wash a million cups a day. So everyone kind of has their own like Tiva, like a refillable thing.
Right.
And so they just keep them out, like.
Yeah, no, water bottles, I get it. We're all needing water. If you can have them just take their bottle to their room, to their desk area, they're going to have to do homework. They're going to need to keep drinking water. So that I think could just go on the desk. It's not going to ruin anything. It's in a bottle. So that could be it. And then, yeah, they can refill. I do not clean out mine. It might be like at the end of a week, but as far as the outside sanitizing that, but if they can leave time to refill it themselves in the morning, that would save you a step for sure. They can handle that, no problem. As far as like backpack and those personal things, they need to go straight back wherever they do their homework. Like, do you have a homework table in the kitchen or?
No, we do in the garage. We have like an area where they hang up their backpacks. It's more of like the folders that they need to show me. They come home with a folder every day. And it's just hard because it's either out in the garage and I understand they don't want to keep that, or it's
right.
And I don't know, I have a hard time. And then too, like my husband dumps his keys and his like work badge. And I just don't know, like, should I just maybe purchase something to set like in the corner of the kitchen to fall in? I mean,
well, I think on the wall, there's no doubt. If you easily, we have a drawer, our laundry room's right off there. So a drawer works for us. And in there is all the car keys, like sunglasses, sunscreen, bug spray, the stuff we always need on the way out. And so if there's not a drawer there now, if it's easier to just hang something up for keys and everybody just knows that's where the keys are, then yeah, I mean, you could start and does his work bag stay there? It's not like he's taking it to an office in your house. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, it's not his work bag doesn't come inside. It's more like the little personal items that my family just dumps in that area. And it's hard. I have a table by the front door, but we don't come in the front door. So it's kind of like,
it's not, and it doesn't make sense. I totally agree with you on that. If there's things that can, like, if you have a rack or something that's in that garage, that they just know, like we had our soccer bags and that just goes here and this is their nook, then, and whatever just needs to come in, just the countertop isn't the place for it. So if they need to review something with you, then if it's there for the moment, or if you're at the dining table, say, I'll meet you at the dining table, we'll go over it together. Don't laugh, but if you need to put like a construction cone in the middle of your thing, so people just know this is not a place to place it, I'm not kidding. I think that is fine and it's hilarious. And everybody like, oh, what, mom has lost her mind, but mommy, you're really funny. Then you just say, we need to have a better rhythm because I need to food prep here. The other thing you could do, which is more extreme, my husband did this to me because I kept temporarily for like the first hour when I'd come home, I'd put my papers on the food prep table. And he was like, this is where we make dinner and salad. I was like, I'm going to move them before dinner. I was just unloading. And he literally took a head of lettuce and just started chopping salad on my paperwork, like literally. So if you need to do something very dramatic and they'll think you've lost your mind, but I never did it again. So true story. It was so funny. You can do it. You just be like, hey guys, this just isn't working. We're going to mix it up. I watched this webinar and this lady had some great ideas for her family. Just blame it all on me. Just, okay. So you'll be good. All right. Anybody else have any other questions or?
Danielle, that was so helpful. And I feel like we need to have a separate session on each of those topics you have.
Yeah,
Because really there's so many good points, and it took so much of like, one thing that I realized coming back to all of this is that we always talk about like boundaries with play stuff, but literally every single thing that we talked about was boundaries either with myself or my family. It was literally like limiting myself with things I have to do or setting boundaries. And it always comes back to that. And for me, I know that's one of the hardest things that's something I struggle with. And so, but that's what, like, I kept writing down boundaries with myself in my notes. So I feel like it's a lot about, like a lot of you said, is like taking accountability and ownership. And for me too, about like doing it later. I say that all the time. I'm not a procrastinator in any way, but sometimes I'm like, I have time later to do this, and it never gets done. Or it gets done the wrong way.
Yeah. So. And it builds up, and then I just feel anxious. There's some things I know I'm going to do later, and that's fine. It's just suddenly, and even my kids will be like, oh my gosh, what happened in my room? And it was just like later. And I'm like, okay, one thing that I didn't mention, I love timers. We use timers a lot in our house, just little egg timers. If my kids need to get motivated, I'll be like, put on a music video, put on something that can just kind of like stir up some energy, whatever you need to do. It doesn't have to be long. It could just be 10, 15 minutes. We can get a lot done in honestly 10 minutes. It's if we just focus, not distracted, phones put away. So that's why we do love timers quite a bit. And I'll just be like, hey guys, just wrap that up before we head out. And it's got to get done. So
no, I had to, that's funny. I did this for like the first time with my daughter recently, my older one, and I had to reset the timer because she was like purposely walking slow during the cleanup. And like, I was like, what are you're not slow. Then just kept walking. I was like, every time you do that, I'm going to reset and restart it to the beginning, because you're just wasting time. Like that's exactly what I know what you're doing. And so we finally, it was efficient, but it took some training.
Well, and let's think about it. Do we want to be all like, yay, let's get this done? So again, that whole negotiate and motivate. I know what each of my kids like. I have like gummy bears hidden somewhere in this house. So funny. They do not know where they are. It's been like 2 months now. And so I'll be like, I've got gummy bears. And like my kids will do anything for gummy bears. So they're like, seriously? I'm like, just finish the basket. And they're older, but I know what each one motivates them, and we just however I can do to make it fun and get over it. I'm like, do you guys think I want to empty the dishwasher? Like I have other things to do. So it is what it is. So thank you so much for having me. This was so great. Appreciate everyone and the questions. And I will continue to do more webinars. I'm looking to do if you don't follow on Instagram, it's Wurth Organizing, and Wurth is my last name. So it's WURTH. These are my 2 books. We hit Amazon bestseller, Ignite the Organizer in You. And this is discovering life skills to transform any space in your life. So we talk about matters of the mind, matters of the heart, and then matters in the hands. We cover every product, every solution, every system. There's a fun little resource guide in the back. And then this is Ignite the Organizer in Your Child. So a lot of great stories. There's life skills in there. Every possible like challenge that you need to go through and work with your kiddo. And both of these have free printables on my website at Wurth Organizing. So we're just all about giving the resources. But we are looking to do coaching sessions if people want to do the book in like a book format, a accountability group, and a coaching group with me. Actually, I have one tomorrow. That'll be like our 3rd week that we're doing. So that's something fun that we just kicked off. So it's a great way to just get the projects done, get teaching. And but yeah, I'm always available if you have questions for anybody. So.
Well, thank you, Danielle, and thank you, everyone. And we will talk with you soon. Have a great day organizing.
Yay. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Bye.